Part 114. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1131. Seeing Zuyun's reaction, this was obviously good news. She quickly left the main hall and informed the 6 nascent soul elders. A moment later, a total of 7 nascent souls, including Xiu'er, stood in front of the wooden body. Zhu Xian, what are your orders? After Luo Lai and others joined Zhenhai sect and changed their name to Xianguang sect, these 6 Yuanying elders also called Zuyun this way. Do you know the secret realm of ascension to immortality? Mu Jiahua waved his hand and asked. Of course I know that it will be opened within 3 years. If it weren't for Zhu Xian, I'm afraid we wouldn't be so comfortable. The implication is that Zuyun killed Hai Deifu and gave them the elixir. This gives them more time to practice and prepare for the secret realm of immortality. Then do you know, Demon Moon Sect? All 6 people nodded. The Demonic Moon Sect is an inconspicuous demonic sect in the 9 Netherlands. The demonic power is weird, but that seems to be it. One person spoke up, and 4 people nodded in agreement, but one person said in shock, Zhu Xian, I heard before that the biggest threat to the Demon Moon sect seems to be in the secret realm of Xianxia. Mu Jiahua's whole body trembled, and he was slightly surprised and said, have you heard of it? Where did you hear it? Zhu Xian, the villain was originally an ordinary person born in the land of 9 netherworlds, but he was born to hate the devil, so he walked out of the land of 9 netherworlds. It was by chance that he learned the righteous method of cultivating immortals. But when he was young, what he heard these are all rumors from the 9 netherworld. The demonic moon sect can control the power of the demonic moon. The so-called demonic moon is an abnormal moon. Mu Jianying remembered that when people from the demon moon sect mentioned the moon in the ascending immortal secret realm, it was the blood moon. He frowned, what is an abnormal month? The moon waxes and wanes, except for the full moon, everything else is not normal. Zuyun was dumbfounded, in other words, there are always a few days every month when the demon cultivators of the demon moon sect are the weakest. It can be said, the nascent soul nodded and said, the more abnormal the moon, the stronger the power of the moonlight they can control. For example, on the first day of the lunar month, when the moon is at its weakest, what they do, the power of the moonlight of the imperial envoy can kill enemies at a small level. On the contrary, in the days around the 15th, it is the time when the moon is at its fullest. At a similar level, a new monk can even kill someone who has been practicing for many years. Wooden Avatar easily understood this and asked, what else is there besides that? Other situations are another matter. For example, in the celestial phenomena, blood moons, gold moons, water moons, etc. may occasionally appear. In this case, their moonlight power will also mutate, which is another matter. Don't worry. Of course, this means that the strength will increase differently. As for how, this is the secret. Is it also related to celestial phenomena? Mu Jiahua's eyes suddenly widened. Because the 28 constellations seem to be considered celestial phenomena. If I could master the power of the laws of these 28 stars, could I directly crush the power of Yuehua? The main body has communicated with the formation immortal. He knew very well that the sun and the moon were stars, but they were not world stars. The sun is the source of all power, and even the power of the moonlight comes from the reflection of the sun's power, and then transforms it, which is softer in comparison. The array immortal said that the 28 stars, taken as a single star, are actually no different from the sun, it is just a big fireball. In the void of the fairy world, many world stars will rotate around these stars, and they will also rotate themselves. The purpose is to absorb the power of these stars in a more balanced manner. So, even though the demon moon sect practices the power of the moon, this is the transformed power of the stars. And I don't need to worry about the 28 stars, I can study the power of stars from any star, and then I will face the demon moon section. Wouldn't it be possible to deal with it calmly? Thinking of this, Mujia suddenly became enlightened. What the original body wanted before was to swallow the power of the laws of the 28 stars whole. That's biting off more than you can chew. Zhu Xian. At this time, the monk saw that Zhu Yun suddenly fell into deep thought, so he cautiously called out. Mujiawa suddenly came back to his senses and said, "Well, you continue. There's nothing more to say. My understanding of the Demon Moon sect is limited to this." He touched his head apologetically, feeling a little at a loss. Mujiawa figured out the relationship between dealing with the Demon Moon sect, and couldn't help but smile. "No need to be restrained. I came to you today not to ask you to deal with the Demon Moon sect, but how to achieve something great in the secret realm of Ascension Immortal." Hearing this, the eyes of the 6 nascent souls all lit up. Mujiawa smiled and said, "There is no doubt that the Demon Moon sect has been waiting for the secret realm of Ascension to be opened all these years. But the destruction of the Immortal Ascension platform has left these monks without a stable source of resources, but you are different." The nascent soul stage people all nodded. At least they no longer need to look for elixirs. Everyone has countless baby building pills in their body. And among them, the last one is in the late nascent soul stage. 2 of them have reached the peak of the late nascent soul, and are just one step away from becoming gods. The opportunity has not yet come, and there are still some problems in inducing the small heavenly tribulation, but they are not in a hurry. Although the difficulty of the small calamity is not high, if you can't survive it, your life's immortal fate may end here. Because the meaning of the small heavenly tribulation is more about heaven's recognition of you. If they can better strengthen their foundation before the minor catastrophe comes, then the possibility of surviving it will be greatly increased. This is the effect of soul-shaping pill. Unfortunately, the wooden incarnation at this time did not have it. And he doesn't have Fen Tianyan, so naturally he can't refine a perfect soul-shaping pill. Right now, you don't need to look for poisonous substances in the sea anymore, just leave it to those in the pill-forming period. Listening to Muji Anying's instructions, one of them said, "Zhu Xian, do you mean that we can just practice in peace?" "Yes," Muji Anying nodded and said, "Now, your mission is to attack the God transformation stage with all your strength." "What about me?" As soon as she heard that they could practice, Xiu'er quickly pointed at herself and said, "She also wants to break through." Of course, she didn't know much about the secret realm of Ascension, but she just thought that if she was strong enough, she might be able to help her sister wake up as soon as possible. Although she also has a demon seal, she grew up in the Yaluo demon sect and practiced different techniques. And the realm is weaker than Nangong Tingfen, so naturally he can't help. You are only in the early stage of Yuanying now. If you want to reach the peak of cultivation in the later stage, even if you are talented and have the help of immortal elixir, it will probably take more than 100 years. So be optimistic about the Xianguang section. They have all gone to practice. Xianguang sect, it's up to you to make the decision. They have brought more than 100 pill-forming people. If you use them well, you will be a force that cannot be underestimated within 100 miles. Xiu'er was immediately disappointed, but she also knew that Zhu Yun was right, so she could only pouted and said, "I can't control them even if they are listed. There are more than 100 people, headed by him and 2 others, although there are people there every day. I arranged to go out to search for poisons during the elixir formation period, but I still left half of them, saying that I wanted to erect some kind of sculpture for you." "What?" Zhu Yun's eyes widened. "These monks are really..." He calculated and found that there were countless sculptures in the 4 mortal realms. But in the mortal world, there are no powerful monks. Even if there are, they can't be stronger than him, so just let them be. But erecting a sculpture in this spiritual world would be too high profile, right? Make them stop. Mujiawa smiled bitterly. "I asked them to stop," Xiu'er said in distress, "but they didn't listen." "So, that's it?" If it's someone else who doesn't listen to the order, it's just a matter of time. I'll kill them all during the pill forming period. But you asked them to join them. What can I do? Mujiawa was speechless for a while, and could only say, let them go, you tell them, as long as it doesn't affect the search for poisons. That's what I said. Fortunately, the sculpture is almost ready. I just need to apply gold powder on it and it will be finished. And gold powder? Mujiawa was even more helpless. Yes, gold powder. Luoli said that when the gold powder is applied, the light will shine, like a fairy light, which is consistent with the name of the immortal light sect. This is considered very thoughtful on their part. Wood Avatar knows the madness and piety of these people. Who allowed his body to directly absorb the fairy light into his body in front of everyone. You know, the origin of the name Xianguang sect is also the same. Thinking that there are only 100 people here, which is much less than those in the four mortal realms, Mu Incarnation felt relieved. This kind of trouble should be left to the main body to solve. As long as I am an incarnation, it is better to get down to business. Okay, then I'll leave first. You take good care of your sister here, and don't forget the important things. Mujiawa smiled slightly. Everything that needed to be explained was explained, and there was nothing else to say. Zuyun, Xiu'er saw Zuyun being so straightforward and quickly shouted to stop him. Then when the secret realm of Xianxia opens, will you come back? I'm not sure, Mu Jianying was asked by Xiu'er, and something suddenly came to his mind. If his body was fine and he came out of the 9 Netherlands, he would definitely come here to see Xiu'er. But at that time, I didn't know where I was, so my memory and experience couldn't be connected. After just pondering for a moment, he came up with a plan, asked someone to get paper and pen, wrote a letter in a unique way, then sealed it and gave it to Xiu'er. Next time I come, leave it to me. Remember to keep it safe. Leave it to. Xiu'er wanted to say the word original, but when she saw Zuyun winking at her, she stopped it and said, I know. Unless I die, no one will see this letter. Mujiawa smiled casually, thank you. After the words fell, Zuyun walked straight out of the main hall formation and disappeared in front of everyone. Standing outside the sect, the sky was bright and the sun was rising as far as the eye could see across the wild sea. The shining rays of light came, but a golden light lit up from behind him. He looked back and was stunned. There is no doubt about it. It is the golden light reflected from his sculptures. However, the golden powder had not been completely painted at this time, but Mu Incarnation felt an extremely mysterious warmth under the golden light. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1132. This feeling. Mu Jianying was shocked, saying it was spiritual power, but it didn't look like it. But it is said to be fairy light, but it is not. He possesses all the memories of his original body, including the time when he was suddenly bathed in the fairy light in the immortal mansion, and then triggered a catastrophe and broke through the stage of becoming a god. The golden light at this time seemed familiar. Forget it, I'm just an incarnation now. Not only do I have no chaos power, but my physical senses are not as good as before. This kind of thing should be left to the main body to deal with. Mujiawa secretly remembered it in his heart, and then left decisively. Since he no longer had to take Nangong Tingfen with him, he decided to go find the weapon refining sect. From a nascent soul elder, he asked about the nearest sect that made a living by refining weapons, which was more than 3,000 miles away. The wood incarnation took up the wood spirit power and ran towards the inland direction with the steps of the immortality secret. The reason why I am not flying is because I want to keep a low profile, and I am also afraid of meeting Nujiao. East Mortal Realm, East Sheng Realm, 7 Stargate. Zhu Feng. A Foundation establishment disciple frowned at Zhu Feng. He was an early disciple of the Lingjian sect, named Xianxia. Later, he showed his talent in alchemy, and was promoted to the 7-star sect and became Yesuanhua's outer disciple. Senior brother Chu. Zhu Feng was not familiar with him, but his temperament had changed and he smiled and saluted. Chu Chang'e nodded and said, "Since you are here, you should settle down here first. As for the master, he has gone out and will not be back in a short time." "Yes, senior brother Chu." Zhu Feng lowered his head slightly and followed Chu Chang'e to a cave. "If you have anything to do, just call me. As for master's arrangements, we can only wait until he comes back." "Thank you, senior brother Chu." After Chu Chang'e left, Zhu Feng looked around at the situation. What he didn't understand was why the 7-star gate was built under the cave. Of course he didn't know that this cave was originally the ancestral land of the Nightmare Demon, but it later changed due to the Demon Refining Tower incident. The Demon Refining Tower is under the cave. Yesuanhua took the initiative to stay here to guard the Demon Refining Tower, and by the way, he built the 7-star gate here. These caves have existed for a long time, and they cannot be dug out by the 7-star gate. Zhu Feng suddenly became interested and started practicing again. Although with his longevity at this time, it was not a problem to embark on the path of immortality again, but if there was a chance, it would be great if he could step into it in advance. "My eldest brother forgave me back then, and my master also forgave me. Now, I can walk around at the 7-star gate as I please, so there shouldn't be any problem, right?" Zhu Feng chuckled, hung the sword on his waist, and walked out of the cave. He was not familiar with the underground cave passages, so he walked aimlessly, watching while walking, and soon he discovered something. On these corridors, in addition to the traces left by the years, there are also some cracks caused by fighting. "It seems that there is also a story," Zhu Feng murmured, feeling even more excited. Maybe he could pick it up and find something left behind in the original cave? In the past, he might not have taken it to heart, but at this time, he was just a mortal, and anything with a little spiritual energy could help him refining his energy. Thinking of this, he began to purposefully search for a tunnel leading deeper. Sure enough, after passing several intersections, he found the right direction and headed all the way down. The 7-star sect has sect rules, and ordinary disciples are not allowed to enter the depths of the cave without permission. But today, disciples from the Lingjian sect have joined, and some elders and deacons have gone out to make arrangements. There is no one here to guard the place. In addition, no newcomer would have the courage to go deep into the cave, which allowed Zhu Feng to go all the way down without any delay. I don't know how long. Zhu Feng reached the end of the passage. It is said to be the end, but it is actually blocked by a formation. 9 turns and 9 suns formation. Did Big Brother set up this formation, or Master? Zhu Feng's eyes were full of doubts. He knew that this formation was originally created by Yesuanhua. When he was in Luo sect, he also studied with Yesuanhua for a period of time. Not to mention completely controlling this formation, being able to easily enter this formation is not a problem. Since there is a formation, there must be something in Xianxia. I'll take a look when I go in. It should be fine, right? Anyway, if the formation is not broken, the master is not in this sect, and the eldest brother would have gone to the spirit world long ago. Zhu Feng felt itchy in his heart. He finally convinced himself and walked into the formation with formation steps. When he reached the main formation, he couldn't help but be shocked. What is visible to the eye is an abyss. On the other side of the abyss, there is still a tunnel. The fighting seemed to be very fierce. The abyss was obviously blasted out. Zhu Feng murmured, looking at the corridor ahead for a while, and then looking below the abyss. Suddenly, he felt a familiar aura, and without knowing what he was thinking, he jumped straight into the abyss from the corridor. The body was falling, and the sound of wind kept coming to his ears. But Zhu Feng had no time to care. Because a sentence kept echoing in his mind. You're back. You're back. You're back. This voice was timeless, it seemed to come from the nine heavens, and it seemed to ring from the bottom of his heart. Zhu Feng could not hold back the excitement in his heart and was not afraid of life or death. Because his intuition told him that there was something he was very familiar with below. After a while, Zhu Feng saw a familiar black shadow. Above the black shadow, black energy lingered. Even though he was mentally prepared, he couldn't help but scream. Demon Refining Tower. Zhu Feng's pupils were constricted and gleaming, but his heart was full of mixed feelings. His becoming a demon has nothing to do with the Demon Refining Tower. But the Demon Refining Tower made him become even more possessed. Goodbye now, but I never thought it would be in this situation. Brother once said that people are not afraid of being possessed by demons, only the heart is afraid of being possessed by demons. I have experienced life and death, and I have always seen people's indifference, so what's the fear of being possessed by demons again? Now I have a calm mind, and my determination is extremely firm. Even if this is a big gamble, you can also win the bet. Thinking of this, Zhu Feng's heart skipped a beat, and his eyes were fixed on the top of the Demon Refining Tower. When his body was about to fall, he forcibly turned around, stepped out with a sword step in the air, and lightly touched the top of the tower. The force of the fall was released, Zhu Feng turned over and drew out his sword again, thrust it towards the edge of the abyss, and with the power of this spiritual sword, it penetrated deeply into the rock. He held the sword with one hand and began to shake his body. When he had accumulated enough strength, he threw his body violently. It is absolutely impossible for ordinary mortals to achieve this level. If you are not careful, you will die. But Zhu Feng, is he an ordinary person? With this throw, the force was controlled extremely delicately, and he just happened to catch him on the top of the Demon Refining Tower. I wonder what's going on with the tower spirit now. With the way my brother behaves, the tower spirit should be dead, right? Zhu Feng hugged the top of the tower as much as possible to stabilize his body, and then slowly climbed down along the outer edge of the Demon Refining Tower. The huge bronze door is still the same as before. Standing in front of the bronze gate, Zhu Feng was filled with emotions. He didn't know why the Demon Refining Tower was here, nor why the 7-star gate was built here. But what is certain is that this must have a great relationship with Zhu Yun. He knew that the Demon Refining Tower was extraordinary. But to what extent, he had no idea. Standing in front of the copper door, after thinking for a long time, he stepped forward and took hold of the copper ring, and then gently pulled it. Boom! The copper door opened, and Zhu Feng stepped inside. Desolate, desolate. Zhu Fengqing closed his eyes and felt this familiar space. But my mind is full of only these 2 words to describe it. Let's go to the 9th floor and have a look. It's just that as a mortal now, I don't know how long it will take. Zhu Feng opened his eyes, filled with determination. No one knows better than him how wide each floor of the Demon Refining Tower is. If he still has a monk, even if it is just for the Qi refining period, it will only take more time. But for ordinary people, it is not impossible to be unlucky and take a few years. The path you choose must be completed even on your knees. Zhu Feng took a deep breath and took the first step back to the Demon Refining Tower. Chenan, the Wild Sea area. An extremely fierce fight is taking place here. 2 rays of blue and red light kept intertwining, dark clouds rolled in the sky, and the color of the wind and clouds changed. A blue light and a red light are constantly intertwined, and green light will appear from time to time. Old Zhao, use your strength. Xiao Huo shouted with all his strength. He wished he could regain control of his body and swim into the deep sea. As long as his body is useless, neither Yao Fuzong nor Mu Qingxin, even if they have all kinds of magical powers, will not be able to escape in a short time. Mu Qingxin was lucky, her soul consciousness was hidden in the pseudo-wood spirit bead, and the endless power of vitality could make her live forever without worries. But Yao Fuzong will one day run out of life and die. Unless they can unite together. Xiaohuo would not give them this chance, so he asked Zhao Kamang to attack more fiercely. But the problem is, even if Zhao Kamang breaks through the demon saint, he will still be restricted by heaven here. You think I don't want to? Zhao Kamang felt extremely bitter in his heart. It wasn't that he didn't want to, he just had more than enough ambition but not enough energy. Not to mention, he couldn't do anything to kill Xiaohuo, who had been with him day and night. Don't worry so much. Yao Fuzong in my body is the ancestor of all demons. If I don't kill him, not to mention chaos in the mortal world, I'm afraid the spiritual world will also be devastated. The ancestor of all demons. Zhao Kamang was stunned. Because, he was not a demon cultivator in the first place, but he practiced the 10,000 demons art and lost control, and finally turned into a dragon-toothed beast in the sea. Yes, I heard from the master that the secret of 10,000 demons is a huge conspiracy set up by him, as well as the demon refining tower and so on. In short, some people are plotting big things. If he survives, he will definitely conflict with the master. Xiaohuo roared in shock, this was all he could do. It is too difficult to control more parts of the body. The ancestor of all demons, the ancestor of all demons. But who would have thought that Zhao Kamang's offensive would suddenly weaken? Because that is the belief in the hearts of all the monks who practice the 10,000 demons art. Faith suddenly collapsed at this moment. At this time, Yao Fuzong also keenly noticed the changes in Zhao Kamang. He reacted so quickly. Hearing the words ancestor of all demons made Zhao Kamang lose his mind. How could he still not know the reason? Yao Fuzong reluctantly used the power of his soul to control the 10,000 demon art, and as expected, he discovered the power of 10,000 demons in Zhao Kamang's body, and couldn't help but feel overjoyed. God helps me. There are 10,000 demons in the world, and all demons have their demon ancestors. I am the demon ancestor, and the demons are for my use. Yao Fuzong's soul began to silently recite the evil spell of 10,000 demons. After a moment, the soul came out of the body and rushed towards Zhao Kamang. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1133. The mastermind behind the 10,000 demons art is Yao Fuzong, so he naturally has a way to completely restrain it. The art just recited is aimed at all cultivators who practice the 10,000 demons art. Whether he succeeds in practicing or fails to become a demon, as long as he uses the power of the 10,000 demons, as long as he is alive, he cannot escape Yao Fuzong's control. Possession. Yao Fuzong's soul went straight into it, and instantly succeeded in taking over Zhao Kamang's body. Having escaped, he had no time to fight here, and went straight out of the sea and headed towards the land. As for Mu Qingxin, who was on the same front with him before. How could Yao Fuzong care about her at this time? It was also because Yao Fuzong did not completely take over Xiaohuo's body that he was able to successfully take over Yao Fuzong's body. Otherwise, he would be doomed to die just because of Huang Mingxing's heavenly limit. Old Zhao. Yao Fuzong's soul left his body, and the control of his body returned to Xiaohuo immediately. He roared, but the fight between the three parties in his body had already been ruined, and he could only watch Yao Fuzong control Zhao Kamang to go away. Mu Qingxin was alone, and immediately retracted all his soul and consciousness into the pseudo-wood spirit bead, and hid it deeply in Xiaohuo's body. Ah! Zhao Kamang died because of saving him, and Xiaohuo felt extremely guilty. He roared to the sky, hating that he was too weak. If he had killed Yao Fuzong in the 10,000 demon sect earlier, how could he have caused old Zhao to die? How should he explain this to his master? Damn it, damn it. This change was unexpected. In his own opinion, this was impotent rage. The flames on his body exploded, as if he was overdrawing his blood and lifespan, burning the sea water with a hissing sound and steam rolling. After a long time, Xiaohuo finally felt tired. He knew that he had already vented what he needed to vent. Next, he should find his master and pass on the news in time. Otherwise, when Yao Fuzong recovers, this Dongfan world will be unimaginable. After turning over from the sea, Xiaohuo ran wildly. But he was seriously injured and his body strength could not support him for a long time. Finally, when he ran through the land of Chunan and arrived at the original position of Liwo sect, he could no longer hold on and fell heavily to the ground. These days, if it weren't for the vitality of the pseudo-wood spirit bead that was not controlled by Mukingzin to nourish him, I'm afraid he would have run out of oil. But at this time, he was not much better. Lying on the lava ashes that had long cooled, he was unconsciously gasping for breath. Until several figures discovered the existence of Xiaohuo. That's Fire Demon Saint. A cultivator was sharp-eyed and recognized Xiaohuo at a glance. He's still alive. Another cultivator shouted in surprise. Master Ye, look, the Fire Demon Saint is still alive. The cultivators who came here were the Peeper Realm cultivators led by Ye Xuanhua. He's really still alive. Looking at Xiaohuo's slightly rising and falling chest, Ye Xuanhua couldn't help but burst into tears. But he didn't know medicine, and Xiaohuo was also a monster at this time, and had not turned into a human form, so he had no idea where to start. But fortunately, they wouldn't act rashly. Master Ye, let's take him to your 7 Stars sect. Dan Lao took out a porcelain bottle from his arms, which was filled with fire dragon pills. He said, the Fire Demon Saint cultivates fire power, and this fire dragon pill should be of some help. There are many monsters in Dongsheng realm, and there may be a demon cultivator who can help him. Ye Xuanhua agreed with it, and without being polite, he took the fire dragon pill and took another one out of it and stuffed it into Xiaohuo's mouth. As the medicinal power dissolved, the fire power on Xiaohuo's body really became stronger. Great, Ye Xuanhua was overjoyed, and then said, Master Dan, I have an uninvited request. The Fire Demon Saint must know what happened. Why don't you come to my 7 Stars gate to have a chat? Dan Lao pondered for a moment and said, okay, if I remember correctly, the girl Nishang is also in the 7 Stars gate. Ye Xuanhua smiled awkwardly and said, that's right, I told her several times that I would go back to the Fire Dragon sect when I have time, but she always refused. Instead, she did some odd jobs in my 7 Stars gate. Master Dan, please don't blame me. Although Ye is the master of the 7 Stars gate, his strength is not as good as that of the fairy. What are you talking about, Master Ye? Dan Lao shook his head, and then smiled, just because you taught a disciple like Zhu Xian, you are also an existence that we, the mortal world cultivators, admire for a lifetime. Shame, shame. Ye Xuanhua bowed his head. He was telling the truth. Zhu Yun's achievement has nothing to do with him. But now the whole Dongfan world worships Zhu Yun as a god. Yes, if there is no Zhu Yun, let alone cultivating immortals, they may all die. Since Sect Master Ye has invited you, Dan will go to bother you. With the help of old Dan, Ye Xuanhua can go back faster. The other sect masters also parted ways and simply turned directly to the Shiwen Mountains and returned to Peeper Realm from there. Old Dan and Ye Xuanhua took Xiaohuo and flew all the way back to Dongsheng Realm. But it will take at least half a month to travel thousands of miles. This half month is enough for Yao Fuzong to completely control Zhao Kamang's body and memory. In the Zhuhao Mountains, he woke up faintly from a mineral vein. There was a stench of corpses all around, and looking around, they were all the corpses of some low-level cultivators. There is no doubt that those are disciples of the Magic Wheel sect, and this was also the mine where Ergu mined for 5 years. After Yao Fuzong succeeded in seizing the body, he needed to get familiar with his body as soon as possible, so he found a place with strong spiritual energy but sufficient concealment. There are few people in the Juhao Mountains, let alone this mineral vein. The Magic Wheel sect was completely depleted in the war that year. These miners were not deceived and abducted by them. No one in the Eastern mortal realm dared to do such a thing. But in Yao Fuzong's eyes, these ordinary people are all ants. Humph, I didn't expect that it was really that kid's portable space. There is also the world tree in it. According to my fairy book records, if there are laws, the world will take shape. Looking at it at this time, I can't take that kid's hand. Even if you go to the spiritual world, it will be useless. It is better to stay in this mortal world and practice peacefully, and then find the demon refining tower. There is actually a demon refining tower in Zhao Kamang's memory. He, boy Zuyun, you can't think of it? I have taken away your demon cultivator. Then I will see if I can enter your portable world. Finally, I will seize it from within. When the time comes, I'll let you taste my power. Yao Fuzong's strength was so strong that Zhao Kamang was unable to resist. All the memories, since he came to Yunzhou and became the master of the first workshop and was used by Tang Zhuyang, were all learned by Yao Fuzong. Not only did he understand Zuyun and Dazhu world, but he also learned that Zuyun had reached the stage of becoming a god just a few decades ago. This kind of talent can be described as more than just a monster. Without the supreme treasure, it would be impossible. Let you prepare well first. Everything will become my wedding dress when the time comes. There is the demon refining tower, and your supreme treasure. When I get to the fairy world, I can become a giant. Yao Fuzong saw that his future as a fairy was extremely bright. Okay, now it's time to find the demon refining tower. Zhao Kamang's memory only knows that the demon refining tower was left in the East mortal realm by Zuyun. Obviously, he can't take the demon refining tower with him. My demon refining tower. The pagoda is made using the method of refining weapons from the fairy world, and it also uses fairy materials. What do you think? Yao Fuzong was secretly proud, and his physical strength had also recovered to some extent. As long as he did not encounter a strong enemy, it was impossible for an ordinary peak nascent soul or a late demon king to hurt him. The only weakness is that the monster Zhao Kamang becomes is Xianxia. This is a monster in the sea. Walking on land will weaken it to some extent. Yao Fuzong is quite reasonable. As long as he can cultivate to the realm of demon saint again, then this will not be a problem at all. As long as we have to capture the demon refining tower and survive the demon beast's calamity, it won't be a problem at all. Go to Dongshenjing first and have a look. Yao Fuzong walked out of the mine, and then transformed into a human form. He looked exactly like Zhao Kamang, and even the aura on his body was exactly the same. From what he saw, I'm afraid even if Zuyun came, he wouldn't be able to tell the truth from the lies. And this will also be an important part of Yao Fuzong's plan. But he ignored it. Xiaohuo also realized this, so he tried his best to go to the spirit world and pass the news to Zuyun. Zhao Kamang is dead. Once Zuyun finds out, he will not be deceived by Yao Fuzong. It's a pity that Xiaohuo didn't even get out of Chuzhu, let alone the main passage in the center of Peepa Realm. At this time, 7-star gate. I've met Master, I've met Senior Dan. Chu Changa prostrated himself, but he couldn't help but glance at Xiaohuo from the corner of his eye. He had seen Xiaohuo when he first arrived. However, with his dying appearance, he couldn't help but wonder what happened. Doesn't it mean that there will no longer be any injustice in the world of singing and dancing? But those powerful demon cultivators would be seriously injured, which shows that the mortal world is about to change again. Get up, go call Fairy Lian and tell her that Master Dan is here to see her. Yasuanhua waved his hand and walked into the cave. Chu Changa quickly followed the instructions, but suddenly stopped and said, "Master, there is something else I want to report." "Oh? Tell me." "Zhu Feng is here." Chu Changa was afraid that he would alarm Yasuanhua, but this was what had to be said. "Who? Who are you talking about?" Sure enough, Yasuanhua immediately became excited. "Zhu Feng. Zhu Xian's disciple, Zhu Feng. Why, he's here." "Where is he?" Yasuanhua asked with wide eyes. "I have arranged for him to be in the cave where guests are welcomed, Master. Do you want to ask him to come see you?" "Let him come." Yasuanhua narrowed his eyes, turned to Elder Dan and said, "Master Dan, I have to excuse you." Dan Lao smiled and said, "It doesn't matter, just leave the fire demon saint to me. I'll go see Nishang before we talk." "Good." Yasuanhua nodded, and then said to Chu Changa, "Take me to see Zhu Feng. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills." Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1134. There was no sound in the empty cave. "You said you asked Zhu Feng to wait for me here." Yasuanhua's face was extremely ugly. "Master, I really asked Zhu Feng to wait for you here." Chu Changa immediately fell to his knees, his voice trembling. Compared to the other disciples of Lingjian sect, he knew Zhu Feng better. In addition to being Zhu Yun's younger brother, he is also a demon cultivator who once stirred up troubles in the mortal world. It is said that countless monks died under his hands. But later, Zhu Feng changed his ways and his cultivation was completely ruined, so Zhu Yun let him go. According to what he saw, Zhu Yun had made such a great contribution to the mortal world, but he could not cover up the stain. But as a little foundation-building monk, no matter how dissatisfied he was, he could only swallow it in his stomach. In fact, at this time, because Zhu Feng was missing, he didn't know what to do. Long song. Yasuanhua's expression softened a little. "You get up and talk first." "Yes, Master." Chu Changa let out a long breath and saw Yasuanhua continue, "What did you say to Zhu Feng?" "There are quite a few monks who know how to suppress the demon refining tower here. But ordinary disciples like Chu Changa, who came to the 7-star sect later, would never know. Therefore, Zhu Feng probably didn't know that the demon refining tower was here. His sudden disappearance had nothing to do with Chu Changa. Moreover, he also understood Chu Changa's nature. You go find Fairy Lian, and ask Master Dan to come with you." Yasuanhua had no one to discuss with but Lian Nishang and Dan Lao. "Yes, Master." Chu Changa quickly left here as if he had been granted amnesty. For a long time, Dan Lao and Lian Nishang arrived with solemn expressions. "Sect leader Ye, why are you in such a hurry? The mortal world is considered peaceful and Yasuanhua has a high status. Except for Yao Fuzong's incident last time, no one will mess with Yasuanhua." And he and Yasuanhua returned to the 7-star gate together, and nothing happened along the way. Come to think of it, something happened to the 7-star sect. Master Dan still remembers Zhu Feng. Yasuanhua got straight to the point. Lian Nishang frowned slightly and said, "Mr. Ye, what's wrong with Zhu Feng? She was the one who brought Zhu Feng, and if anything happened to Zhu Feng, she would be held responsible. Zhu Feng is no different from immortal. He came to Lingjian sect and said he wanted to find an immortal again. It was difficult for me to make a decision. He said he came to see you, so I brought him here." Lian Nishang recounted the conversation with Zhu Feng in detail. "You mean, he has the spirit sword and storage bag given to him by Zhu Yun?" Yasuanhua was also stunned for a moment. "So, Zhu Feng is practicing again, is it approved by Zhu Yun? In that case, it's really hard to stop him." After pondering in his heart for a moment, he said, "But Zhu Feng disappeared. Chu Changa personally placed him here and asked him to wait for me to come back. But now that I am back, he is not here. Could it be that he went deeper into the cave? Lian Nishang didn't think too much and spoke bluntly. Go deeper? Chu Chang'e. Yasuanhua immediately looked at Chu Chang'e, who was not far away. Master, my disciple was busy accepting the other disciples of Lingjian sect at that time, and he never told Zhu Feng that the place below is a forbidden area. At this time, Yasuanhua's expression suddenly changed. Immediately afterwards, the expressions of Elder Elixir and Lian Nishang became a little ugly. You go out first. After Yasuanhua sent Chu Chang'e away, he casually placed a restriction. Chu Chang'e is not qualified to know about the demon refining tower. Sect Master Ye, there is a 9-turn 9-yang formation down here. This formation is so mysterious that a mere mortal like Zhu Feng can't break it, right? Dan Lao had personally experienced this back then and knew a lot about it. That's the problem, Yasuanhua said eagerly. A few years ago, I taught Zhu Feng the 9-turn 9-yang formation. Although his talent for the formation was not very good, he still learned a lot. 88. It's not difficult to get out of this formation. Lian Nishang said in shock, Mr. Ye, what do you mean? Zhu Feng, we will refine the demon refining tower again. Good. Yasuanhua turned around and said, we need to catch up as soon as possible. If he dares to refine the demon refining tower, we will kill him at any cost. The demon refining tower is of great importance and cannot be reborn. Elder Dan's face was solemn, and he also knew the real purpose of Yasuanhua calling him over. If Zhu Feng takes control of the demon refining tower again and has malicious intentions, the consequences will be disastrous. And Yasuanhua is not at a high level. At this time, he and Lian Nishang are the strongest in the entire 7-star section. Without further ado, please ask Sect Master Ye to lead the way. A group of 3 people rushed towards the location of the demon refining tower. At the same time, Zhu Feng was just taking a quick look at the demon refining tower, but he was not in a hurry. His realm is gone, but his longevity and body are still there. Not to mention walking for hours. You can walk for 10 days and half a month without feeling tired. Even if he doesn't need to eat, it won't have much impact. Just because he has cultivated to the elixir formation stage. Except for the fact that he has no spiritual power, there is no difference between him and the ordinary pill-forming stage. Moreover, as he walked like this, he found that his heart was surprisingly quiet. Conducive to the cultivation of state of mind. When Yasuanhua and others found traces of someone coming to the bottom of the abyss, their faces were ashen. The bronze door has also been opened. There is no doubt that Zhu Feng has entered the demon refining tower. What to do? Yasuanhua looked at the 2 people behind him. I have the highest realm, so I will go in. Dan Lao took the lead and glanced at Yasuanhua, then turned to look at Lian Nishang, as if to explain his last wishes. Nishang, of the 4 direct descendants of Dan Qi and Lian Zhong, you are the only one left. If I leave, you will be the leader of the Fire Dragon sect. Master, Lian Nishang shook her head and said, Zhu Feng is just a mortal, there is no difference between you and me. I don't want to be the leader, I just want to be a free and easy cultivator. So, let me go. After that, she stepped forward and opened the bronze door. Unexpectedly, Yasuanhua flashed and stopped the 2 of them, saying, Zhu Feng's affairs have a lot to do with me, and I will go. If nothing works, Zhu Yun will blame it, and you can push it on me. When he said this, he had already brought a resolute death intention, obviously thinking that entering the demon refining tower was a road to death. This. Dan Lao and Lian Nishang looked at each other. They dared to push all the problems onto Yasuanhua in front of Zhu Yun? What a joke. Master Ye, I'll go. I'm at least in the late nascent soul stage. Dan Lao has not made any progress in the art of alchemy over the years. Even if he goes to the spirit world, it will be difficult for him to break through to the spiritual realm. Moreover, his lifespan is short, and the Fire Dragon sect has no successors, so he stayed in the Fire Dragon sect as the sect master. He is open-minded. And he volunteered to enter the demon refining tower. In fact, he also had his own selfish reasons. What if, after he solved the problem, Zuyun gave him an opportunity? This is not to say that wealth and honor are sought in danger, but it is still an opportunity. Even if there is no result, it will not be worse than it is now. It's nothing more than dying a few years earlier or later. Master Dan, Yesuanhua shook his head and said, in fact, there is one thing we are not sure about. I think Danzong is also clear about Zhu Yun's character. Zhu Feng entered the demon refining tower, and we don't know if he really wants to refine him. After all, you are not familiar with him, maybe it would be better for me to go over. What Yesuanhua said is not unreasonable. If we cannot determine Zhu Feng's current mentality, it would be too arbitrary to kill him directly. This. Dan Lao looked at Lian Nishang again. Since Zhu Yun can let Zhu Feng go, it is obvious that Zhu Feng has reformed. Master, in my opinion, it is better to do as Ye Lao said and let him go in. Besides, the life and death of the spirit of the demon refining tower is unknown. Even if Zhu Feng wants to refine it, I am afraid he will not be able to do it. Okay then. Dan Lao sighed and said, then Sect Master Ye, before you come out, I will stay in the 7 Stars Gate to take care of it temporarily. What do you think? It couldn't be better. After all, the fire demon saint is seriously injured. If it were an ordinary disciple, I am afraid that he would not be able to take good care of him. Thank you, Sect Master Dan. Dan Lao smiled slightly and said, it's just a piece of cake. Besides, I also want to teach the way of alchemy to Nishang. Yesuanhua sent the 2 out of the 9 transformations and 9 suns array, and then resolutely entered the demon refining tower. After determining the direction, he ran non-stop towards the passage to the next level. Outside the abyss. Nichang, are you really unwilling to take over the position of the sect leader? Dan Lao looked at this former proud disciple with an inexplicable expression. Although he had the intention of using her at that time. But he never really wanted to hurt Lian Nichang. Master, do you know why I don't want to return to the Fire Dragon sect? Why? Because I was hurt by the Fire Dragon section. Lian Nichang burst into tears, thinking of the past that she couldn't bear to look back on. Although everyone who knew about this matter had died, she still had a hurdle in her heart that she couldn't get over. If she hadn't stayed in this mortal world, she could have helped Zhu Yun a little. She would have wanted to die long ago. She had the intention to die, and she had made no progress in her cultivation over the years. Who in the Fire Dragon sect dares to hurt you? Dan Lao was furious. It's over. Lian Nichang looked into the depths of the corridor, and her expression suddenly returned to normal. It's over, but the scar on her heart has always existed. Nichang, your teacher. Master, it has nothing to do with you. Lian Nichang shook her head. Is it, related to Zhu Xian? Dan Lao was shocked. Thinking back to the past, the relationship between Lian Nichang and Zhu Yun was extraordinary. Otherwise, why would Lian Nichang take her to see another master, Tang Liwen? Later, when she saw that Zhu Yun had learned Tang Liwen's unique method, the Dozhuan Xinyi formation, she knew that Tang Liwen's sudden departure from the Fire Dragon sect was also closely related to Zhu Yun. Could it be that Nichang blamed herself for this? Dan Lao guessed that it was related to Zhu Yun, but he guessed the reason wrongly. However, despite this, Lian Nichang's heart was stirred again. Master, please stop talking. Lian Nichang covered her mouth and ran outside. Nichang. Dan Lao was stunned, and then chased after her. Just as Lian Nichang ran straight to the 7-star gate, a demonic force suddenly descended from the sky. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1135. Where does this evil cultivator dare to come here and act so arrogantly? Lian Nishang gave a sweet shout, her face already as cold as ice. Protecting the 7-star gate is one of her reasons for staying here. After Yezetu went to the spirit world, she became the strongest person in the 7-star sect. That powerful demon power is undoubtedly the Demon King. In the Dongsheng realm, which demon cultivator doesn't know where the 7-star gate is? If you dare to come here to release your demon power, you must be a demon cultivator who doesn't understand this place. Lian Nishang was not polite. He stretched out his hand and pinched a magic formula. Suddenly, flames shot up into the sky and surged towards the demon power. Boom! The fire power and demonic power collided, causing a loud noise. The ordinary monks of the 7-star sect below were so frightened that they fled in panic. Even their nascent soul elders can only be divided equally. If they stay here, it will be tantamount to death. The shock dissipated and the fire disappeared. But suddenly, another demonic force struck her between the eyebrows. The human sect dares to appear in our Dongsheng realm. When the demon power reaches it, the sound also sounds, deep and a little ethereal. Ha, Lian Nishang smiled disdainfully, where did you come from to be a demon cultivator in seclusion, and you don't even know about my 7-star sect? Lian Nishang waved her hand, and the sky was filled with flames again. Although this demonic power was strong, she could see that it was far from threatening her. 7-star sect? Which sect is this from the valley? Did you come to Dongsheng realm to establish a sect because you couldn't survive in the human race? I would like to go and see the 12 great monster clan. Can they allow you humans to be here? This. Zhao Kamang knew Zuyun very well, but he had never experienced the battle with the nightmare demon, so he was missing this part of the experience. Yao Fuzong doesn't know. He had just arrived at Dongsheng territory when he discovered that there was a human sect on the edge of the Rat clan's ancestral land. He had nowhere to vent his anger, and seeing that it was only at the core forming stage, he wanted to kill someone to vent his anger. But he never thought that Lian Nishang would be driven out of the cave. Yao Fuzong was greatly surprised. He had transformed into a human being, but what he could use was demonic power. Not only because of the body, but also because of the 10,000 demon art. However, he had been cultivating in the Juhao Mountains for a long time, and although he had absorbed the spiritual power from the spirit stones, after all, Zhao Kamang was the body of a monster. For him, he had only returned to the realm of the Monster King. It is still somewhat difficult to compete with Lian Nishang. You can tell by seeing how easily Lian Nishang responded. Who are you as a demon cultivator? If you dare to attack the 7-star gate, aren't you afraid that you won't be able to stay in Dongsheng realm any longer? The 7-star sect is on good terms with the 11 major demon clans, and their relationship is extremely good. Since she was born in the Peepa realm, she has never seen the sea, let alone the demon cultivator in the sea. Not to mention that Yao Fuzong is now fighting her in human form. Even if he transforms into the body of the dragon-toothed beast, Lian Nishang may not recognize him. Therefore, she thought that Yao Fuzong was a rare monster who was in seclusion. He didn't know about the changes in Dongsheng realm, so she didn't kill him. As a result, this gave Yao Fuzong a chance to survive. Seeing that the opponent was not able to exert his full strength and was somewhat invincible, Yao Fuzong gave up. Humph! I will ask those demon emperors before I come to settle accounts with you. He was passing through here, so it was naturally impossible for him to fight with the 7-star section since he could not vent his anger, he would not stay. At this time, what he needs is the demon pill. Go deep into the East Sheng realm, kill the demon cultivator, and then get the demon pill to practice the 10,000 demons art. Only the 10,000 demon art can help him regain his strength as quickly as possible. When the time comes, let alone the 7-star gate, the 8-star gate and the 9-star gate, he can also change it at will. Yao Fuzong left immediately without any warning. Lian Nishang didn't want to chase him and watched him leave. Dan Lao also came out of the cave at this time. Lian Nishang and Yao Fuzong only fought 2 moves. One side was poorly prepared and the other had some spare strength, but the fight was evenly matched. Nishang, that demon cultivator just now. Dan Lao was well informed and looked at Yao Fuzong walking away, hesitant to speak. What happened to the demon cultivator? Lian Nishang is strange. Dongsheng realm has good relations with our human race. It stands to reason that the 11 major demon clans have completely spread the news. There can be no misunderstanding. Master, what you mean is that the demon cultivator is not a demon cultivator from the Dongsheng realm. Not only is it not from Dongsheng realm, it is also not from Pipa realm, Yusha realm, and Yao realm. Lian Nishang took a breath of cold air, the wild sea. Yes, have you ever noticed that he has the aura of the sea, and his demonic power has a trace of water quality? It seems there is. That's it, Elder Dan said in a deep voice, this demon cultivator, I'm afraid. Master, please speak clearly. I heard what he said before. Combined with our guesses, it is contradictory. After all, Elder Dan is a veteran nascent soul power. He has a reasonable basis and said, if he is a demon cultivator in the sea, why didn't he come from there, but from the direction of Yao realm? The second thing is that the demon cultivators in the sea practice demon techniques that are completely different from those of the demon cultivators on land. They form their own system, so there is no connection with the demon cultivators on land. Lian Nishang frowned, and he said, go ask the demon king of the 11 major demon clans. Yes, if he is telling the truth, it means that he knows those demon kings and has some friendship with the 11 demon clans. But if this is the case, why has he not even known about the 7-star sect after all these years, let alone the relationship between the human race and the demon clan? You don't even know if the clan is friendly. If what he told is a lie, and the previous attack was unprovoked, then it's probably hard to tell the origin and motivation of this demon cultivator. Master means. Elder Dan's eyes narrowed and he said, kill. Kill. Yes, kill. In the entire mortal world, who doesn't know Zhu Xian, and who doesn't know that the 7-star sect is the sect established by Master Zhu Xian? No matter whether it is unprovoked or not, he should be killed. Lian Nishang took a breath of cold air and said, would that be possible? Are you worried about the wild sea? Lian Nishang nodded. The wild sea has its own section. Even if there are demon cultivators, there are very few adults. Moreover, they all clean up their own affairs and never cause trouble. Just kill them. Dan Lao was also a decisive person. After guessing Yao Fuzong's problem, he did not delve into it at all. If you wait until you get to the bottom of it before killing him, it will be too late. Nishang, it's just right. You told me before that you wanted to ask the major demon kings to help save the fire demon saint. We will go there one by one. No matter how strong the demon cultivator is, there will be no place to hide in this Dongsheng realm. Elder Dan continued, and Lian Nishang nodded and said, Master, you stay here, and I will go to the ancestral ground of the Rat clan to meet the demon king of the Rat clan first. Don't worry, I'll leave the 7-star sect to me. If you meet this demon cultivator again on the way, don't be polite and just kill him. Yes, Master. Lian Nishang's body flashed and she chased in the direction where Yao Fuzong escaped. If you can catch up, if you can't, go to the Rat Demon Palace. Of the 11 major demon clans, the Rat clan is now the weakest. They were exploited by the nightmare demons and suffered numerous casualties. They have not yet been able to breathe a sigh of relief. Even choosing the demon king from the totem pole and passing on the legacy are no options. Later, the 11 clan demon kings decided to put aside their inheritance and go to the spirit world to practice. This left the Rat clan without demon cultivators at the demon king level. Fortunately, the 7-star sect is in the ancestral land of the Rat clan, and the rat clan naturally reproduces very quickly. Although there are no strong ones in the Demon King realm, the number is slowly recovering. But what they didn't expect was that the disaster would come again. It's Yao Fuzong. When Yao Fuzong fled, he saw that Lian Nishang was not chasing him, so he turned directly to the Rat Clan Demon Palace. If you haven't seen the Demon King, is there any reason to leave? With one casual blow, he smashed the Rat Clan Palace into pieces. The flying boulders and debris directly killed countless Rat Clan juniors. Gee, the absence of the Rat Demon King will really give me an advantage. All the demon cultivators in this Rat Clan, no matter how big or small, can at least restore my body to the middle stage of the Demon King. Yao Fuzong's eyes glowed with blood as he used the 10,000 demons art. Countless corpses exploded almost at the same time, but only one demon pill remained intact. Under the control of 10,000 demon art, large and small demon pills gathered towards him, and in just a moment, they went into his mouth one by one like beans poured from a bamboo tube. Not bad, it's been a long time since I've had a demon pill. Yao Fuzong was overjoyed. With his 10,000 demon art, after the void refining stage, there is no need to swallow demon pills anymore. Before he took the body, for the Mahayana period, he divided his soul and body into 12 parts and drilled them into the totem pole. This is more than 10,000 years. The demon pill turned into traces of demon power and penetrated into his body continuously, making him feel extremely comfortable. No one could fit his body better than Zhao Kamang's. Because Zhao Kamang is a monk who practices the 10,000 demons art. Yao Fuzong floated unscrupulously in the mid-air, letting the demon pills enter his mouth. There were countless surviving Rat Clan demon cultivators underneath, some running away, and some digging holes in the ground. He seems to be turning a blind eye, but in fact, whenever a rat is about to escape from his range of perception, he will use his soul to directly pressure it and crush it to death. At the level of the Demon King, Yao Fuzong used the characteristics of the 10,000 demon art to crush these rats whose highest level was only equivalent to the Dan formation stage. No rat clan can leave this place safely. In his eyes, all the rats will become part of the power in his body. But Yao Fuzong also knows. This place was too close to the 7-star gate, so he just planned to harvest it and leave. The 12 major demon clans and the demon dragon clan are not here, and there are still demon cultivators from the 10 clans that he can take at his will. After blowing a stick of incense, Yao Fuzong laughed wildly, opened his eyes, and then dodged away. The place where the Rat Clan Demon Palace is in a mess and is full of devastation. When Lian Nishang arrived here, his eyes were filled with disbelief. Broken limbs and broken arms, rivers of blood. This is the center of the Rat Clan's ancestral land. This is clearly a purgatory. What's going on? She murmured and swept her spiritual consciousness over. The strong smell of blood made her nascent soul nauseous. But Lian Nishang knew clearly that this must have been done by Yao Fuzong. Master is right, that demon cultivator is extremely suspicious. Why didn't I kill her at that time? A sense of regret rose up in Lian Nishang's heart, and she couldn't help but think of Zuyun. If Zuyun faced this person, he would probably attack him without mercy, right? He won't be given a chance to escape at all. At this time, a Rat Clan demon cultivator with great luck came out of the hole he had just made. After seeing the flaming figure in the air, he shouted hysterically, "Fairy Lian, please ask the 7-star sect to help us rats, the clan is in charge." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1136. What happened? The shocking scene shocked the calm Lian Nishang. The blood on the ground had not dried yet, and the blood was slowly connected like veins. The ground was full of dead bodies, and none of them were intact. Under Yao Fuzong's evil magic, the demon cores of these corpses rushed out of their bodies. Suddenly, a demon cultivator came and destroyed our demon palace without saying a word, and then used some kind of magical power to take away all their demon cores. The rat demon's face was covered with blood and tears, and he told Lian Nishang what had just happened. Lian Nishang couldn't believe it. Master was right, this man not only had problems, but also big problems. Where is he going now? Lian Nishang asked. That direction. The rat demon hid in the cave and saw it clearly, pointing to the direction of the cattle clan's ancestral land. I'll chase him right away. You go to the 7-star sect first and look for the fire dragon sect's Dan Lao. Remember that. Thank you, Fairy Lian. The rat demon hurriedly knelt down to thank him, but did not immediately agree. The rat clan has suffered this disaster. I have to find the rest of the younger generation of the clan. The clan cannot be destroyed. Then you better be careful. Lian Nishang nodded. She did not force it, and then chased towards the ancestral land of the Ox clan. Yao Fuzong's demonic aura is very unique. As long as she gets close to a certain distance, she will definitely find it. What she is worried about is whether the ancestral land of the Ox clan is also playing this scene. Yao Fuzong forcibly seized the demon pill of the rat clan demon cultivator. He went to the ancestral land of the Ox clan again, perhaps for the demon pill of the Ox clan. Could it be that this will be a catastrophe for the Dongsheng realm? The Dongfen realm has changed. In comparison, the spirit realm is much safer. Apart from the casual cultivators like them, who turned back before reaching the heavenly world, and finally joined the True Sea sect and changed its name to the Immortal Light sect, everything developed according to certain rules. After the Ascension platform, the next big thing is the Ascension secret realm. This is something that all cultivators in the entire spiritual world know. Within 3 years after the Ascension platform was born, the Ascension secret realm will surely open, which will be a grand event for all cultivators. In the Ascension secret realm, in addition to those rare natural treasures, it is said that things from the immortal world can be found. Such as immortal medicine, immortal materials, and even immortal tools or the inheritance of immortals. Countless cultivators flocked to it, and everything they did was to prepare for the Ascension secret realm. Including those in the tribulation crossing period. The rare peace in the spiritual world is also one of the main reasons why those sects closed their doors after the Ascension platform. It is to keep a low profile and wait until the secret realm is open to strike hard. Whether they can regain their glory depends on this moment. However, there is no fixed time for the opening of the Ascension secret realm. Within 3 years, it may be today or it may be the last day. Therefore, they raced against time and refused to waste a breath of time for cultivation. Except for those cultivators who just came from the mortal realm. Without the disturbance of the original sect forces or demon cultivators, they had many fights with the casual cultivators in Tianhuitian. But gradually, they also knew about the Ascension secret realm. So, the fight became more intense. Compared with the casual cultivators in the spirit realm, the mortal realm cultivators were more united. Most of them came up in groups. They knew each other in the mortal realm, and because of Zuyun, it was easy to gather together. The casual cultivators in the spirit realm had rich experience. If they didn't have some skills, they would not be able to survive in the spirit realm. For a while, Tianhuitian was also tense and lively. There were no countless casualties, but there was also a faint calm before the storm. In the spirit realm, the most lively place now is nothing more than the sects that can refine weapons and pills. Some cultivators took out their accumulated wealth over the years and asked the weapon refining sect to make a good and handy spiritual weapon. Or they took out all the spiritual medicines and exchanged them for a pill that could save their lives at a critical moment. Even the talismans were extremely popular during this period, which greatly improved the cultivation conditions of those talisman masters. In short, the Ascension Secret Realm has also brought considerable changes to the spiritual world. Compared with the Ascension platform, the Ascension Secret Realm has no requirements. Even mortals can enter it as long as you dare. The cultivators of the Five Elements sect can also enter it. This is also one of the reasons why the Five Elements sect immediately closed the mountain and closed the door after the Five Elements Senran was smashed to death by Yayuan. They want to focus on the Ascension Secret Realm. Because every time in the Ascension Secret Realm, in addition to killing people and seizing treasures, there will be another good show. Revenge if there is revenge, and grievance if there is grievance. There are great opportunities in the Ascension Secret Realm. It is also accompanied by great risks. For the sake of the supreme treasure, low-level cultivators will spontaneously unite to kill high-level cultivators, and high-level cultivators will directly wipe out low-level cultivators if they disagree. There is only one word to describe it. That is chaos. Things like turning against one side in battle and suddenly stabbing in the back are likely to happen at any time. It can be said that the most challenging thing in the Ascension Secret Realm is the human heart. Even Xianxia, who is in the tribulation period, the top powers in the spirit world, are making detailed preparations, so it can be imagined. The bad nature of human beings will be completely released in the Ascension Secret Realm. But neither Zuyun nor Mu Huashan knew all this. Zuyun was still suppressed in the heavenly book space. The Lin family ancestor had used up most of his immortal soul power and had fallen into a deep sleep, leaving Zuyun alone, sighing at the bottom of the Purgatory Mountains. The wood incarnation was on his way to the weapon refining sect as planned. Although he had the aura of the middle stage of the spiritualization realm, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, he still restrained his aura and only showed it at the nascent soul realm. At the same time, he was walking on foot with the Changshengju, which would not attract much attention from others. At most, he would run into some low-level cultivators who were wandering around and practicing. And he also got some news. When he was still more than 2,000 miles away from the weapon refining sect, the wood incarnation had already roughly understood the weapon refining sect. Balian sect. It is said that he was a weapon refiner in the Mahayana realm. Because he could not break through to the tribulation realm through his own practice, he finally accepted his fate, founded a sect, and passed down his weapon refining skills. After accepting 100 disciples and teaching them everything he knew, he suddenly had an epiphany. Once he attained the Tao, his mind was suddenly opened, and he directly broke through the tribulation stage. This is the first cultivator in the history of the spirit world who broke through to the tribulation stage with the way of instruments. So, the sect was renamed Balian sect. It means a sect that has accepted 100 disciples and taught the way of instruments. Now, countless years have passed, and the instruments refining sect has been devoted to cultivating the essence of the spirit world, never participating in the struggles of the spirit world, and relying solely on instrument refining and cultivation, with unfathomable strength. It is also one of the few neutral sects in the spirit world. This makes the wood incarnation feel relieved. Some people would say that neutral sects are the most selfish sects, because they can earn the spirit stones of all the casual cultivators. But the wood incarnation is not necessarily. This is also a way of survival. Whether it is refining instruments, refining pills, or talismans, the resources required for cultivation are far more than those of ordinary cultivators. If they were obsessed with fighting, I am afraid they would not have achieved what they have today. Along the way, Mu Huashan got a lot of information. Every time the Ascension platform and the Ascension secret realm were opened, it was the peak season for Balian sect to collect money. Hey, I don't have many spirit stones on me. If the other party charges a very high price, I can't take it out. Mu Huashan was also troubled by this, but since he was on the road, he would go to inquire about the situation first. He didn't have high requirements for spiritual weapons, as long as he had a spiritual sword that was not easily damaged. He didn't need a very powerful spiritual weapon. He continued on his way. It took a few more days. As more and more cultivators were met around him, Mu Huashan also knew that he was not far from Balian sect. There was no need to ask for directions, as long as he followed the direction of the crowd, he could know the direction. He also slowed down his pace and listened carefully to the whispers of the cultivators around him. Most of the people coming and going here were in the nascent soul stage. He restrained his breath and was not very noticeable. And the deliberately low voice of the nascent soul stage could not be hidden from his soul. He knew more and more news. There are good news and bad news. I heard the latest news that Balian sect will not accept orders for the time being. We have to speed up. Why not? Didn't they say that they would refine the magic tools until the day when the Ascension secret realm was opened? What do you know? Almost all the great predecessors of the Ascension platform were killed in it. The orders they can take are mainly for the magic tools of the Jindan stage and the spiritual tools of the Yuanying stage. This is extremely limited for the improvement of the tools of the great masters of the Balian sect. Instead of wasting this time, it is better to comprehend the tools and improve your state of mind. Is there such a thing? Where did you get the news? I have my channels, but don't leak it out. Go. However, Balian sect also said that after today, they will stop accepting orders, and will only select 100 from all the cultivators to refine for him. What do you mean? They just quit. This is bad news, because originally everyone had a share, but now only 100 pieces are refined. In other words, most of the cultivators who have prepared for hundreds of years may have nothing to show for it. What about the good news? The good news is, the 100 selected cultivators will be provided with materials by the refining sect for free. Hearing this, Mu Huashan shuddered all over. He was originally worried that he would come empty-handed, and how could he get a spiritual weapon? The worst plan is to use his own refining attainments to communicate with the refiners in Balian sect to see if he can get some benefits. Now, it's really good news. Mu Huashan pricked up his ears and listened to the cultivators continue to talk. Then there are requirements for the selection. It's impossible to choose randomly, right? Of course. As far as I know, if you can't make it today, the Balian sect will release the news and let all the cultivators who want spiritual tools and magic tools bring their own drawings. The Balian sect will select them based on the drawings. So that's how it is. We don't know how to refine tools, so naturally we can't draw drawings. I think this is also tailored for cultivators who can refine tools, right? That's not clear, but from what I see, it's possible that the Balian sect wants to take advantage of this time to recruit disciples. As long as the drawings are mysterious, maybe they will accept people into the sect, and the free spiritual tools may be regarded as a gift. You know, the Balian sect is very rich, and the cultivators who enter will not worry about the resources for cultivation. Of course, it is also possible that they are preparing for the Ascension secret realm. After all, before the Ascension secret realm, cultivators like us used our accumulated wealth to create magical instruments and spiritual instruments. After the Ascension secret realm, those who can come back must have gained a lot. It is unknown whether the Balian sect will be busy coming over by then. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1137. Mu Huashan listened to the general idea, but he was most concerned about the blueprint. If what these Yuanying stage masters said was true, then he could start preparing now. Originally, Mu Huashan's original plan was to send Nangong Tingfeng to Jian Valley, and he could naturally ask Feng Qingyang to give him another spiritual sword. However, he had asked him for a Feng Guo sword before, and he felt embarrassed to ask for another one. Secondly, he had not decided whether to ask for a sword. In terms of the ability to refine spiritual swords, Jian Valley claimed to be second, and no one in the spiritual world dared to claim to be first. But another reason why Mu Huashan did not go was that it did not make much difference to him whether it was a sword or not. He could use the Wuji sword art, but the problem was that wood spiritual power did not fit the sword method. So, he found Balian sect. If he could have a spiritual weapon controlled by wood spiritual power, his strength would be enhanced for him now. At least, he would not need to be so cautious when he met a Shenhua stage master again. Mu Yukong Shen, if possible, Mu Hua Shen still wants to increase the vitality of the spiritual weapon, which may be better. At present, what he learned from these Yuanyings is indeed good news for him. It seems that it is time to prepare the drawings. Mu Hua Shen walked forward with the flow of people. He needed to confirm again whether what these Yuanyings said was true or false. Nothing counts unless you hear the announcement from the Balian sect with your own ears. Of course, you can also think about the spiritual weapon you want now. Half an hour later, the flow of people became more and more dense until it stopped completely. Mu Hua Shen also saw that they lived under a mountain. This mountain is very strange, as if there is only half of it, and it was split in half from the top. On the left, there is a lingering fire, and it is obvious that there will be a fire vein at the bottom of the mountain. On the right, there is a cliff cut by knives and axes, which is extremely smooth and no grass grows. On the cliff face dozens of feet high, there are 3 huge red characters. By Lianzong. The characters are good, but what surprised Mu Hua Shen was that each stroke had an extraordinary charm. But with his current state, he could not tell what was hidden between the lines. But when he thought about it, Bai Lianzong was founded by an ancient Mahayana predecessor, who later had an epiphany, broke through the shackles and finally ascended to the tribulation, and he felt relieved. Retracting his gaze, Mu Hua Shen looked at the bustling crowd, shoulder to shoulder, and also restrained himself a little. He also saw several Hua Shen stage. It seems that there are many self-aware casual cultivators in the spirit world. Otherwise, these Hua Shen stage cultivators would definitely die in the ascension platform. The crowd moved forward in an orderly manner, not fast, but no one was making a noise. This shows that the rules of Bai Lianzong are very strict, and these people dare not make trouble here. Mu Hua Shen wanted to leave at this time, but it was too late, and he was constantly pushed forward by the crowd behind him. 2 hours later, he finally saw the mountain gate with his own eyes. 2 pillars and a plaque, with the 3 words Bai Lianzong written on the plaque. The pillars were made of unknown metal materials, but the pillars were carved with dragons and phoenixes, separated on the left and right, lifelike, which made the wooden incarnation admire in his heart. The dragon and phoenix engraving usually means auspiciousness in this situation. Looking at the plaque again, it was exquisitely carved. After being exposed to the wind and sun for many years, the brilliance has not faded, but it faintly exudes a smell of fireworks. This is also a spiritual weapon. Suddenly, the wooden incarnation saw the dragon and phoenix on the pillars on both sides, and opened his eyes at the same time, revealing some brilliance. But when he looked carefully, the eyes of the dragon and phoenix closed again, and he had this idea in his mind in an instant. Once again shocked by the handwriting of the Bai Lianzong. Perhaps the souls of the dragon and phoenix were refined into the mountain gate, which was enough to show the power of the Bai Lianzong. What made him even more incomprehensible was that, as the saying goes, there can't be 2 tigers in one mountain, and there can't be 2 spirits in one weapon. How did the Balian sect refine the spirits of the dragon and the phoenix into these 2 pillars? From what he saw at this moment, the 2 pillars and the plaque were clearly one and the same. From this, it can be seen that the Balian sect's attainments in weapon refining are indeed very strong. Then, would the Fengguo sword at that time also be refined by the Balian sect? The wood incarnation had this idea for no reason, but on second thought, it was not known whether it was good or bad for the Fengguo sword to be obtained by Xianxia. The speed of the flow of people slowed down again, and the wood incarnation also saw clearly that every cultivator who passed through the plaque would be guided by a disciple of the Balian section. After a detailed conversation, some followed into the Balian sect, and some were persuaded to return and turn down from the mountain gate. But the short distance of dozens of steps took more than an hour. The sky gradually darkened and the sun set. Just when it was the turn of the wood incarnation to pass through the mountain gate, the dragons and phoenixes on both sides suddenly opened their eyes at the same time. The brilliant light shone through, and the lifelike dragon scales and phoenix feathers were shining with black and red light respectively. At the same time, the three characters of Balian sect on the plaque released spiritual power, forming a semi-transparent light curtain under the mountain gate, directly blocking the wood incarnation. Is this, no longer receiving? The wood incarnation remembered what the Yuanying said before. He also saw with his own eyes that these people moved around and kept choosing the Jindan stage cultivators to cut in line. In the end, they rushed ahead of him to enter the Balian sect, and were also led away by several Balian sect disciples not long after. Seeing that the team could not move, some cultivators behind him began to complain. Some complained about the Yuanying stage cultivators who cut in line, some blamed their companions for wasting time on the road, and some blamed the people in front for walking too slowly. The voices gradually became noisy. Silence. At this time, a majestic female voice suddenly came from the other side of the light curtain and reached everyone's ears. The light curtain was not very clear, but you could see that the female cultivator was wearing a red shirt and had a graceful figure. There was a kind of hazy beauty that was like a lute half covered. Even if you couldn't see clearly, this voice like the sound of nature made these cultivators look straight at her. Only Mu Huashan was shocked, and he lowered his head slightly, and was extremely surprised. Why did Nujiao come to Balian sect? Isn't she going to find the demon knife? The demon knife and Ergu are both in the main body. It can be said that Nujiao has no clues. At that time, Nujiao suddenly changed her temper, which made Mu Huashan dare not look directly at her. Moreover, she had also cultivated the divine eye technique, so Mu Huashan was not easily recognized by Nujiao. The most important thing is that he doesn't know what Nujiao's attitude is now. Maybe, she came here to refine a spiritual weapon similar to the magic knife? After all, at that time, she also asked the main body to refine it for him, and then the main body didn't prepare the materials. The wooden incarnation carefully searched in his memory and found an appropriate reason. As the surroundings gradually quieted down, Nujiao's voice sounded again. Recently, Balian sect has been very popular with fellow Taoists, but Balian sect also has limited manpower. I am afraid that it will not be able to make a handy magic weapon or spiritual weapon for fellow Taoists before the opening of the Ascension Secret Realm, which will damage the reputation of Balian sect. Therefore, from now on, Balian sect will no longer accept orders. Please forgive the inconvenience brought to fellow Taoists. This was said generously and appropriately, with a very humble attitude. No one could say a word, and they all whispered below. Balian sect said it in advance, making it clear that they would not work and earn spirit stones. What else could they say? They can only find another way out. The spiritual world is so big that there is more than only one Balian sect that can refine weapons. And some cultivators in the crowd quickly retreated. A closer look showed that these cultivators were all using swords. It was obvious that they were going to go to the heavenly world to find the Sword Valley to refine spiritual swords. In an instant, the number of people here decreased by 1/10 or 1/12 times, and it seemed less crowded. Because the incident happened suddenly, many Taoist friends came from afar but did not get what they wanted. Balian sect deeply apologizes. Therefore, 3 days later, Balian sect will select 100 Taoist friends from the Taoist friends present, provide them with the required materials, and refine a magic weapon completely free of charge. As soon as this was said, the whole audience was in an uproar. How precious is the word free! Even the materials are provided by Balian sect. You know, the neutral Balian sect has made a lot of money in recent years. Their fees are actually very simple. The cost of refining a magic weapon is only 100 medium-grade spirit stones. If you are not satisfied, there is no reason to return or exchange. Starting from the spiritual weapon, if it is refined according to the agreed requirements, 2 material fees will be charged. Similarly, if the agreed effect is not achieved, the original amount of materials will be returned. How many years has the Balian sect existed? Refining a spiritual weapon earns a spiritual weapon material. A little bit adds up to a lot, so terrifying. In the eyes of these cultivators, if they can be selected, then they can refine any spiritual weapon they want. Nu Jiao was not in a hurry at all. She waited for everyone to calm down again before she slowly said, "How to select people, there must be requirements. It is impossible to ask the Balian sect to refine a fairy weapon for 100 Taoist friends, right? The Balian sect must also refine it." "Yes, yes, yes, the fairy is right." "Yes, speak quickly, there are more than 1,000 people left here, there must be a fair screening process." "Yes, fairy, speak quickly, so that we can go back and prepare early." The crowd was excited and spoke one after another, but only the wood incarnation bowed his head and said nothing. Now that he's here, he must want the spiritual weapon. Even if Nu Jiao has the divine eyes technique and can see him, at this moment, she is more like a mouthpiece. There is a saying among mortals that the law does not punish the masses, and since the Balian sect wants to do such a thing, it is impossible to ruin its own reputation. In other words, he is still safe for the time being. Be patient, everyone, listen carefully. When they heard the request, everyone fell silent and looked forward to it. All the Taoists present here can draw a picture of the magic weapon or spiritual weapon you want. Secondly, you need to write down the functions and effects of this magic weapon or spiritual weapon. In the morning of 3 days later, you will hand in the drawings to the mountain gate. The sect master and several grand masters will personally select 100 copies. The reference criteria for selection are as follows: first, do we have the corresponding materials to refine the things on the drawings? Second, whether it exceeds the standards of our Balian sect. Third, whether it has a design that is refreshing to our Balian sect. The sect master and the grand masters will cross-examine the selected drawings, and finally announce the selected person in public at sunset. So, everyone, remember to sign your name when you go, and leave a unique aura to avoid being impersonated. After that, the fiery red figure quietly retreated. The sky also darkened, and at the same time, the dragon and phoenix pillars opened their eyes wide and roared. Powerful. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1138. 50 miles away from the Balian sect, there is a market. Not only the wood incarnation, but also all the lucky ones who want to be among the 100 people have come here, planning to express their thoughts in the morning 3 days later. Submit the required drawings of the magic weapon. The city was overcrowded, and the inn could no longer accommodate anyone, which invisibly relieved the embarrassment of Mujiji, who had no money. He sat down on a street corner and quietly watched the monks setting up stalls in the market shouting vigorously. But it's all in vain. The existence of this market was originally for the exchange of materials, so as to go to Balian sect to refine magic weapons. But the Balian sect's sudden decision made all the monks who planned to exchange materials for spiritual stones come here in vain. Balian sect provides all the materials, who would look for the needed materials on this street? The market is extremely popular, but it is only limited to inns and some relatively empty open spaces. The same was true for Mu Incarnation. He looked at the vendors with dull eyes, but in his heart he was thinking about what kind of magic weapon he needed. Combining the information he had previously learned from those Yuaniinki and Nu Jiao, it was indeed not that simple to select 100 from so many people. I don't know much about the spiritual world, so I can't guarantee that there will be capable people among these people and they will have some fantastic ideas. You've come here, you can't come here in vain, right? The spiritual weapon is bound to be obtained, which is related to the fate of him and Zhu Yun's body. When the body does not know whether to live or die, and there is no news at all, the wooden incarnation consciously knows that he can only live and cannot take risks. Without the spiritual weapon, many of his magical powers are limited and cannot be used at all. Hey, Mu Jianying sighed, and he had no clue in his heart. According to his original idea, it was how to maximize the ability of his wood spirit power. But in itself, wood spiritual power is not very aggressive. Not to mention him, even Zhu Yun himself has no corresponding experience. I don't know what happened to Ergu. Involuntarily, Wood Avatar thought of Ergu, who was placed in the universe world by his main body. At that time, the main body was letting the ancestral tree take care of it. Zusha said that with his original power and wood spirit power, Ergu's vitality could be stabilized, so that the poison would not erode his vitality for a period of time. Muzu's Hung, is here. Suddenly, Mu's eyes lit up. He recalled the first competition within the sect after joining the Lingjian sect. When fighting Ergu, the swordsmanship Ergu learned was the wood spirit swordsmanship. Although he doesn't understand the wood spirit sword technique, judging from his current state, the wood spirit sword technique makes use of the vitality attribute of the wood spirit power to generate countless vines to trap the opponent. If I fight with someone, I can completely trap them. Then I can kill them by other means. Mujiawa suddenly came back to his senses. He had gotten into a corner. Trap first and then kill. The opponent will have no power to fight back. No matter how blunt the knife is, it can kill him. Mu Jianying was extremely happy. Everything was difficult at the beginning, but with a new idea, it was like opening up. Woods grow in clusters, so the main body of this spiritual weapon should also be a spiritual object with a single wood attribute. Wooden Avatar searched for the corresponding material in his memory, and soon came up with a common wood as the main body. Bimulberry tree. The main body has read through Yesuan Hua's 3,000 books, including the basic introduction to weapon refining. Mujiajia knows that the bimulberry tree is very suitable for his thoughts at this time. Bimulberry tree is actually more useful in raising silkworms and spiritual insects. Whether it is the snow silkworm, the eye silkworm, or the more spiritual celestial silkworm, they can all feed on bimulberry leaves. Just because the vitality in the bimulberry tree is very strong, which can make the survival rate of spiritual silkworms higher. Think about it, since Balian sect mainly focuses on refining weapons, there will definitely be protective clothing made of various spiritual silks, and spiritual silks are extremely rare and hard to find, so they will definitely have them in captivity, and naturally, their sect will also there are mulberry trees. After determining the main body, the wooden incarnation decided on the style of making the spiritual weapon. A short-handed staff. Short for easy portability. Because he emerged from Zhu Yun's body, he did not have a ring except a storage bag, and the storage bag was completely unable to control objects with just a thought. In this case, you can only act with ease if you have it in your hand at all times. If it's too long, it's hard to use, but if it's too short, it'll be easier to use. Then it won't exceed 2 feet, which is completely enough. After opening his mind, Mu Jianying simply broke off a branch from a nearby tree and scratched it on the ground. Soon, a rough prototype was formed. The staff was finally determined to be 1.5 feet long. It was very inconspicuous in the hand and would not alert others at all. Then, he made a mark on the handle of the staff. When he planned to draw a drawing, he noted on the side that a spirit guiding array needed to be engraved here, and a spirit gathering array was needed at the head of the staff. It wasn't that he hadn't thought about drawing a more useful formation, but he was really afraid that the people from the 100 Refiners sect wouldn't be able to make it, so he gave up on his drawing of the staff. but there is a burst at the beginning and end, which is obviously enough to make people's eyes shine. After it is completely drawn, the staff is almost ready. Originally, he wanted to draw a spirit trapping array in the staff, but after thinking about it, he thought that the staff could be used to trap spirits, so using the trapping array was superfluous. And I can also draw the sky talisman, and I can master a few characters proficiently, but the spiritual power is not suitable, and after using it, the power cannot achieve the corresponding effect. But it was enough for him. Mu Huashan thought about everything and felt that the staff had met his requirements and was not difficult to refine. He took out a pen and paper from his storage bag, leaned against a flat stone and drew the blueprint, and he breathed a sigh of relief. As the sky darkened, the street began to become noisy. Mu Huashan put the blueprint into his storage bag and noticed that more monks were coming and going. The vendors shouted harder. They sat there all day without any business, and they didn't want to go home empty-handed, so they couldn't hold back. But these monks who came out were actually sitting there and just taking a breath. Not every monk can draw the blueprint of the magic weapon they want and be sure that Balian sect can refine it. And some who don't know much about refining can't even write down the materials needed for the main body. In just half a day, many people have already had the idea of giving up. But some are reluctant. That's Balian sect. The wood incarnation observed the expressions of these people and naturally saw what they were thinking. He was also relieved. That's right, most of them were in the Jindan stage. He was worried that he couldn't compete with them before? Really? He laughed at himself, guessing that it might be because he had no news from his original body, so he had to act carefully. After sitting in this corner for a long time, the wood incarnation remembered that he hadn't named the staff yet. The name of the magic weapon didn't matter, but the spiritual weapon was different. The name of the spiritual weapon should be the name of the spirit. The spirit of the weapon has intelligence. If a name that fits and sounds good is given, it may make this spiritual weapon better. But this is a bit difficult for the wood incarnation. Even Zuyun is not good at naming, let alone his incarnation. Suddenly, the wood incarnation looked distressed. This was much more difficult than designing the blueprint of the staff. He even felt that the name would be the key to the staff. So, the wood incarnation closed his eyes and ignored what was happening in front of him. There were still more than 2 days left, and he didn't believe that he couldn't come up with a name. Just as the wood incarnation entered into meditation, the Balian sect was also in full swing. Although the news had been spread that they would no longer accept the refining of magic tools and spiritual tools from the outside world, they still needed a certain amount of time to refine the orders they received. Whether it was a spiritual tool or a magic tool, generally speaking, 3 days was enough for them. Because the cultivators who came here were at most at the spiritualization stage, which was not a problem for the Grand Masters in the sect. Therefore, only ordinary cultivators were busy. At this moment, in a hall full of fire, more than a dozen Grand Masters of refining equipment sat on the ground, surrounding a furnace. From time to time, tongues of fire jumped out of the furnace. But these cultivators turned a blind eye. Chang Yi, those cultivators should all be concentrated in the market, right? A strong middle-aged man suddenly spoke. He is the current leader of Balian sect, Lian Changfeng. And the Changji he mentioned is his junior brother. I think so. Lian Changji opened his eyes slightly and said, the area within 50 miles of Balian sect is not suitable for them to meditate. Only the market is suitable. I don't think so, another person said lightly. If it were usual, the market would be a good place to go and you could find a lot of good things. But with thousands of people going there, I'm afraid the market would be too noisy. So, Lian Changfeng raised his eyebrows and said, we can't find a magic weapon blueprint that can open our eyes this time. Senior brother sect master, Lian Changji shook his head and said, I think you are still a little it's too hasty. The spiritual world is big, but how many cultivators have been lost in the ascension platform? Why don't you wait until you reach the Ascension secret realm and then break through by refining equipment? I'm afraid I can't wait. Lian Changfeng sighed and said, otherwise, I wouldn't have resorted to this desperate measure. I also know that in such a hurry, there will definitely be no drawings that will make my eyes light up, whether it is a magic weapon or a spiritual weapon. But if the quality is not good, then win by quantity. The ancestor taught the Tao to 100 people, so that they broke through the tribulation period in one fell swoop. I want to try to refine 100 pieces of equipment, maybe it is feasible. That's right, Lian Changfeng has reached the peak of the late Mahayana period. But he has been stuck in this realm for 1,000 years. His lifespan is still enough, but he is afraid that his mind has been worn away. Even if he goes to the tribulation period again, he may not be able to prove the great Dao. Over the years, Balian sect has used countless methods, but Lian Changfeng has not been able to break through. Especially recently, Lian Changfeng felt that there was something wrong with his state of mind. If he doesn't seek a breakthrough, the consequences may be disastrous. Possessed by the devil. This is the best outcome. Lian Changfeng and the entire Balian sect do not want this to happen. Because once Lian Changfeng goes crazy, no one knows what he will do. The Balian sect has a great reputation and has always remained neutral. But once a cultivator with a devil appears, who can guarantee that there will be someone with ulterior motives who will use this as a handle to attack the Balian sect? The Balian sect is rich and well known throughout the region. By the way, Lian Changfeng said, and then looked at the other grandmasters, does the refinery that came in this time have any novel designs? Several grandmasters shook their heads. If there were, they would definitely rush to refine it. Unexpectedly, Lian Changji suddenly spoke up and said, I did hear an interesting request before, which was to refine a small knife. But, that person didn't seem to know the rules of our Balian sect and didn't prepare the corresponding materials, so I let her go. Oh. Lian Changfeng's eyes lit up and said, what's the interesting way? If she can explain it clearly and draw the blueprint, it won't be a big deal for our Balian sect to help her with the materials during this special period. I called Meng Xiaozi to come and see, and it was the female cultivator he received at that time. Lian Changji stood up and disappeared straight on the spot. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1139. After a while, the company commander came back, accompanied by a round-headed male nascent soul cultivator. Behind the male cultivator was a spiritual sword, which looked like it didn't look like an ordinary thing. I've met the sect master, I've met all the great masters. The male cultivator bowed and saluted. Meng Baishi, company commander Feng waved his hand and said, you are not considered a disciple of my Balian section, you do not need to salute according to the sect's rules. The elder in long clothes should have told you. Can you tell me how you will receive it? What kind of knife does that person want? This. Meng Baishi's eyes flashed with confusion. What, you can't remember? Company Commander Feng's eyes tightened and he showed a hint of momentum. In the Mahayana period, how can a nascent soul resist him? Senior, please allow me to reminisce and reminisce. The big dog had a bitter look on his face. He was frightened at that time. When he saw that the other party said that there was no material and only a drawing, he dismissed her casually. He swore. I have never seen anyone who looks exactly like Meng Wei in my life. Whether it's a smile or a tone of voice. If she hadn't recognized herself, Big Dog would have almost recognized her as Meng Wei. And the most important thing is that she took out a drawing. On the drawing, there was a drawing that was exactly the same as the magic knife in Ergu's hand. Wasn't Ergu's magic sword also given to him by Meng Wei? Taking all this information into account, how could Big Dog dare to tell the other party's information in front of so many people? He and Meng Wei finally settled here. Even if he is just a handyman now. Meng Wei, but because of the spiritual fire symbiosis technique and the relationship with the heavenly fire dragon, he has an extraordinary status in the 100 refining section. He can stay here and practice peacefully without the need to refine weapons. If someone exactly the same comes here, who knows what will happen? Yes, what the Big Dog saw was Nujiao. It is said that at that time, after Nujiao and Zuyun separated, there was no breath of the magic sword at all. In desperation, Nujiao gave up the idea. After all, even if she found the magic sword again, she would not be able to refine it into a magical weapon of her own. She is very clear about how powerful the magic sword is. With her current strength, she may not be able to control the magic sword, and she may even be controlled by it in the future. This is not what Nujiao wants. So Nujiao inquired in many places and finally came to Balian sect. But he also faced the same problem as the wooden avatar. There is just no material at all. Therefore, he was dismissed by the Big Dog. But at that time, it still attracted the attention of several weapon refining masters who were staying at the section. They came to inquire and saw the blueprint in Big Dog's hand. The drawing was very simple, but the shape was very strange. They knew how to make weapons, and they could see that the shape of the blade was very special, so they took the drawing away. Daegu also explained the reason why he sent Nujiao away. Finally, the drawing was delivered to the company commander Yi. Changji, please bring that drawing to me and take a look. After company commander Feng finished speaking, company commander Yi took out the blueprint with some reluctance. The Big Dog suddenly regretted in his heart. If he had known, he would have swallowed the blueprint in one bite. But doing that at that time would definitely arouse the vigilance of those elders. I stayed in Balian sect because of Meng Wei's face. At this moment, a loud shout suddenly sounded outside the main hall. Sect Master, elders, I heard that you brought Meng Beishi here. After the words fell, Meng Wei's charming figure walked into the hall and stood beside the Big Dog. Wei, Lin Changfeng said with a smile, I just asked him something, but I didn't drive him out of the section. Meng Wei snorted softly and said, Sect Master, I said, even if Beishi leaves, I will not stay. These disrespectful words made the other great masters of weapon refining look extremely ugly. If it weren't for the heavenly fire in Meng Wei's body that greatly helped them, Meng Wei would never have had any good results based on his attitude. But obviously, Meng Wei also knew it well. If you have something to rely on, you must protect the Big Dog thoroughly. This is what she promised Zuyun. Why are you asking for a piece of paper to write it down? Do you really think he is a prisoner? Do you still need to sign it? Meng Wei's sharp eyes caught sight of the white paper in Lin Changfeng's hand, and in a flash, he snatched the paper away unceremoniously. When she saw the magic knife pattern on it clearly, her expression changed instantly. But Meng Wei didn't know the cause of the matter, and thought it was drawn by the Big Dog. Although he was doubtful, he didn't get angry in person, but returned the drawing. No one knows this magic sword better than her. This is the magic sword that has been with her since she can remember. As her level increased, her feeling towards the magic sword became more and more unfamiliar. There is even a vague feeling that the higher the level, the harder it is to master. Rather than being unable to control it yourself in the end, it would be better to give it to Ergu to save his life. Meng Wei did not want to harm Ergu, but wanted to separate him from the magic sword after Ergu reached a certain level. But after arriving in the spirit world, they had no chance to meet again. Originally, they agreed to meet at the seaside of Tianweishan. But in the spiritual world, everything is out of control. In the end, she had no choice but to stay in Balian sect with Daegu. As a handyman, Daegu can earn a certain amount of spiritual stones by working for Balian section. He can also enter the sect at will and inquire about Ergu. But something unexpected happened to Ergu. Although he finally met Zuyun, the result was not too good. Neither party has found out about each other, so how can they talk about meeting each other? Therefore, Meng Wei could only let nature take its course and settle down. After returning the drawings, Meng Wei couldn't help but pull up Big Dog's sleeves and walked out. The great masters did not stop him. Their goal was the blueprint of the magic sword. As long as Meng Wei was not unhappy, they were happy with it. The two of them were speechless all the way, and finally walked to Meng Wei's exclusive courtyard, and casually placed a restriction. Meng Wei said softly, "What happened?" Young Palace Master, Big Dog took a deep breath and said, "I saw someone who looks exactly like you." Meng Wei was stunned for a moment, but quickly recovered and said, "What's going on?" "Today, shortly before you came out and announced that you would stop taking orders, a female cultivator came. Although she wore a veil, her figure, voice, and tone were all the same as yours. Even the drawing in the hands of the sect master was not. It was painted by me, but the female cultivator took it out and forgot to take it back." "What did you say?" Meng Wei's eyes suddenly widened with an incredible look. "She knows big dogs. He looks big and thick, but his big head is full of wisdom. Since the appearance of the wild sea, they originally wanted to stay there and wait. Seeing the endless flow of monks coming and going, they proposed to walk in the direction of the Juyu land, and maybe they could meet Ergu head-on. At that time, the remnants of the damage to the immortal platform were still there, and they had walked all the way here. Even in the past few days, they had heard a lot of news, saying that there was a lot of excitement in the sky and the fighting was very tragic. It was the big dog's foresight that allowed them to escape from the dangerous place. And as the news that the Ascension secret realm is about to open spreads throughout the spiritual world, they know more and more. When there are more monks, there will naturally be more disputes. The spiritual world is no longer a mortal world where they can move around at will, so they should be careful. Staying in the 100 refining sect is actually to get what you need from the other party. Meng Wei's biggest purpose is to improve his fire control skills as much as possible. After all, her entire life skills now lie in the fire element. Whether it's the spiritual fire symbiosis technique or the heavenly fire dragon. It was only because of her strong request that Daegu was able to stay as a handyman. Because Meng Wei also felt that he needed someone to take care of him. As soon as she got the news, she hurriedly asked the sect master's palace to ask for someone. "Just when I was about to come back, I heard the news." "You mean, exactly like me?" Meng Wei stared and confirmed again. "I will not admit my mistake, young palace master. How many years do you think we have known each other? How could we admit my mistake? Not to mention she is wearing a veil, even if she is wrapped in cloth, I will not admit my mistake. Moreover, she also after taking out this magic knife blueprint, I will feel that things are a bit troublesome. Yes, it's all such a coincidence." Meng Wei was stunned. She knew that the big dog would not target without aim, and she had seen it with her own eyes. After a moment of silence, she suddenly asked, "Then do you know where she went? Are you looking for her?" The big dog trembled all over. The feeling at that time is still fresh in my memory. The reason why he was frightened was not because they were too similar, but because the big dog felt like he was completely seen through the veil. That's why he drove her away in a daze. It's a good thing that the other party is wearing a veil, otherwise, the masters not far away would definitely recognize him as Meng Wei. By then, who knows what will happen? "I don't know," Meng Wei shook his head, with a dazed look on his face, and said, "I have never told anyone. In fact, since I was a child, I have often dreamed about a person who is exactly like me. She's saying that I am a saint from the Holy Demon clan. I am part of the saint." "Ah!" The big dog suddenly raised his head. The amount of information contained in this was huge. Does it mean incarnation? After thinking about it, Daegu asked cautiously. After all, in the 100 refining sect, the great masters have all practiced incarnations. Sometimes the main body and the avatar refine weapons together to get twice the result with half the effort. Probably not, Meng Wei shook his head and said, I was raised by my master since I was a child. When you first met me, I still had the Yologo seal on my body and kept the appearance of a little girl. So, it is impossible for me. He is an incarnation, a normal human being, and he has been named Luo since childhood. Later, because he often had this dream, Master gave me the surname Meng. Well, only then did Big Go know the origin of her surname Meng, and at the same time he remembered the interesting story they had said at that time. Yasuanhua took Meng Wei to escape from the Lingjian section along the way. He thought Meng Wei was Zhu Yun's sister. Meng Wei calls him grandpa, and he calls Meng Wei girl. Later, when he was in danger, Meng Wei burned his Xiao Yuan to save Yasuanhua's life, revealing his original strength and realm. He was so frightened that Yasuanhua knelt on the ground and called her mother-in-law. If it's not an incarnation, what does it mean? I don't know either. Meng Wei raised his head and looked into the distance. I think this must have something to do with the other me in the dream. The key lies in that woman. Big Dog frowned and thought for a while, then said, that woman seems to be only at the nascent soul stage. You want to go with me? Meng Wei suddenly smiled, understanding what Big Dog meant. Yes, if we don't figure this out, I'm afraid neither you nor I can practice with peace of mind. I asked the other servants, and the nearest market is 50 miles away, so it's very likely that she's there. Big Dog stood up with a solemn face. Meng Wei smiled and said, forget it, I'm not going. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1140. The Big Dog was slightly startled and said, why can't you go again? You may not be able to find it if you go there, but it's better to stay here and wait for it. Meng Wei understood it clearly and said, but before that, we still need to make some preparations. Big Dog is not stupid, he was just surprised by the similarities between Nujiao and Meng Wei. When Meng Wei said this, he immediately said, young palace master, you mean that she will definitely come back? Yes, Meng Wei nodded and said, the sect master and several great masters obviously saw that the design of the magic sword was extraordinary. The female cultivator came to Balian sect and was sent away by you, but the design was in their Dharma eyes. Even if the female cultivator doesn't come back in a short time, the sect master will still send people to look for her. The Big Dog sighed and followed Meng Wei's words and said, so, if they want to refine the sword by then, they will still need your Skyfire Dragon. Meng Wei acquiesced, and then said, tell me, what is the origin of that person? Could it be that, he came here in my dream? Ah! The Big Dog was completely confused by these words. He smiled bitterly and said, young palace master, that person must be related to you, but what is the relationship? Even you don't know, how can I know? So, I need your help, Meng Wei said with a relaxed smile. Wait a minute and tell the sect master and the elders that I suddenly have an epiphany and need to retreat. It can take at least half a month, and can take up to a month. You should always pay attention to the actions within the sect, and if the female cultivator comes back, please notify me in time. The Big Dog frowned, young palace master, if you have any plans, just tell me and I can make preparations. What's the plan? All we know at the moment is that the female cultivator will definitely come back. Just wait and see what happens. However, you can't take the initiative to see the female cultivator before people from the sect come into contact with her. Even if you do, pretend you don't know me. I see. The Big Dog couldn't guess what Meng Wei was thinking, and since he didn't answer when he asked the other party, he knew that Meng Wei wouldn't tell him if he continued to ask, so he simply left Meng Wei's courtyard. He went to the sect master's hall again and told Lian Weifeng and others about the news of Menghui's retreat. "You're so good, why are you in seclusion?" Lian Weifeng said, dissatisfied. "It is said that Menghui joins the sect, but in fact it is more like a cooperative relationship. It's not like they haven't thought about taking away Menghui's heavenly fire dragon. After all, Menghui is only in the nascent soul stage and can be taken care of at will. But who would have thought that Menghui and Daegu were not simple people? They had the attitude that they would rather live in pieces than live in ruins, so they had no choice but to do so. This also prevented Balian sect from daring to openly quarrel with each other. On the surface, it is actually all hypocrisy and hypocrisy. Maybe during these days, the young palace master absorbed enough firepower here and then strengthened the sky fire, right? The big dog said casually, since Menghui didn't give any instructions, he could naturally make up a reason. "Sect master, there is no need to rush. When the time comes to find the female cultivator, it doesn't matter if we wait for 10 days and a half." A great master nearby said that this was true, because even if they wanted to start refining this knife, they still needed to prepare the corresponding materials. "Okay then," Lian Weifeng smiled slightly and said to the big dog, "What other panacea does we need?" The big dog spread his hands and said, "The young palace master didn't say that, so it shouldn't be necessary. But she did tell her not to disturb her recently." "Can." Lian Weifeng agreed, and the big dog left the hall with his head held high. In fact, he had somewhat guessed that Menghui was most likely thinking of ways to escape. Cooperating with Balian sect is tantamount to seeking the skin of a tiger. On the surface, it seems to be extremely harmonious, but the most unpredictable thing is the human heart. Daegu guessed that perhaps Menghui's purpose was to take advantage of the female nun who looked exactly like her. "Because I told her that the other party is also in the nascent soul stage." At this time, in the small courtyard of Menghui, she opened the small courtyard's built-in restrictions, sat cross-legged on the bed, and thought carefully. Just as Big Dog guessed, she did have her heart gone. The longer she stayed in the 100 Refiners sect, the more she discovered the wolfish ambitions of these weapon refiners. It declares to the outside world that the sect is neutral and will never participate in battles in the spiritual world. But in fact, they had no choice but to make such a decision because they were not strong enough to participate in the battle. Just imagine, taking the Chi Dao as the main path of cultivation. Apart from the greater difficulty of cultivation, the resources required are also an astronomical number. Even after so many years, except for the founder who broke through to the tribulation stage, no one in the sect has reached that level. Which monk doesn't want to attain enlightenment and immortality? Perhaps, when Company Commander Feng reaches the stage of transcending tribulation, he will take away my heavenly fire. And by helping him refine the magic sword, it may really be possible for him to break through the stage of transcending tribulation. Therefore, I must be the one in the dream leave this place within an hour before coming. But, how should I tell Big Dog? Will he misunderstand that I left him in Balian sect for my own survival? Menghui, who was alone and meditating, was actually thinking about this issue. Big Dog cannot know in advance, because Big Dog is a sword cultivator and is relatively weak in spirit. If the great masters had any idea and directly used the soul-searching method on the Big Dog, then their own purpose would be exposed, and both of them would fall into a place of eternal destruction. Daegu stayed in Balian sect as a handyman because of her, but there was another tacit reason, that is, Daegu was a hostage. He and Menghui kept each other in check. The Balian sect also knows this, so Big Dog can walk freely in the Balian sect. No one cares much about what Big Dog does. Generally, if the sect needs manpower for something, the deacon will just come over and ask Big Dog. If he is willing to participate, he will get the corresponding spiritual stones as payment for his hard work. If you don't want to, no one will force you. Big Dog is also happy to earn some spiritual stones and keep them on his body for emergencies. These days, I have earned a lot of spiritual stones. 3 days passed by in a flash. In the early morning, people were already crowding outside the mountain gate of Balian sect. There were more than 1,000 monks, and the place was packed to the rafters. Some monks were in high spirits, obviously well prepared. Some monks were trembling with fear and seemed extremely unsure. There are even more monks who look desperate, but they come here with the mentality of trying their luck. All kinds of expressions. Following the two pillars of dragon and phoenix, they opened their mouths and opened their eyes, and let out a roar of supreme majesty. The three characters Balianzong above the door plaque also glowed with red light, and the mountain gate opened wide. An elder in the void refining stage stopped behind the mountain gate. Next to him, there was a dark box made of ebony willow wood. Seeing the crowd squeezing towards the mountain gate, he shouted in a deep voice, "Put your respective drawings into this wooden box in order. If one person goes out of the mountain gate, another person can enter. If anyone violates this, don't blame me for being angry." The tallest casual cultivator present was only in the divine transformation stage. Once angry in the void refining stage, who would dare to mess up again? Regardless of their level, they all lined up obediently and stuffed the drawings into the box according to the rules of one out and one in. Among Elder Xianxia nodded slightly and pointed directly outside the mountain gate. He also received a mission from a great master to find a nun wearing a veil. If you see someone coming, bring them directly to the sect. Otherwise, even if Menghui closes the death gate, it would be impossible for him to deal with this kind of matter during the void refining period. Generally speaking, one person in the god transformation stage is enough. However, when the crowd gradually became looser, the elder had never seen a female cultivator with such characteristics. But he will not relax until the last moment. If he misses the female cultivator due to luck, he will be punished by the sect, which he cannot bear. There are not many rules in Balian sect, but the punishment after violating them is extremely severe. The lightest responsibility is to abandon one's cultivation and be expelled from the sect, but the most serious responsibility is, to extract one's soul and refine one's soul. Due to such heavy rules, the internal information of Balian sect has never been circulated in the spiritual world. The sky is getting brighter and everything that should come has almost come. And in that city, the wooden incarnation was also able to wake up. Seeing that the popularity in Fang City was extremely weak, he suddenly realized it. No, I won't be able to catch up. In desperation, he flew up and ran towards the direction of Balian section. He didn't even have time to be happy. He thought about it for 3 days and 2 nights before he came up with a good name. Originally, he restrained his aura and sat on the street corner, inconspicuously. Even if someone saw him, he felt the unusual aura of pure wood spiritual power on the body of the wooden incarnation and did not dare to approach. And after most of the monks left, Mu Jianying was afraid that he would not be able to catch up, so he had no scruples. The aura of the god transformation stage was revealed, and it immediately spread throughout the city. In a corner of Fangxi, a Mahayana monk with no spiritual energy fluctuations in his body walked out quietly, looked at the direction where the wooden incarnation left, and whispered to himself, "This is also heading towards the Balian sect, but why are you so behind? And I never noticed it before." Third elder, a companion in the void refining stage, said with a smile beside him, "We are here to find the female cultivator. We will definitely not pay attention to the male cultivator." Mu transformed into a simple and powerful outfit, but he was no different from an ordinary male cultivator. Even if he was far away, it was obvious given the level of the two of them. "Listen to what you said." The company commander suddenly frowned and said, "It seems that no one in the sect has noticed that she is a female cultivator. Everything is just empty words from Mengbei Ishi. What does the third elder mean?" Meng Wei and Meng Beishi have impure intentions. They are just seeking shelter in our Balian sect and may leave at any time. Of course, they also know that if the sect leader breaks through the tribulation period, Meng Wei will no longer be able to and Ran protects her skyfire. Therefore, they will definitely eliminate any possibility for the sect leader to make a breakthrough. So, Meng Beishi deliberately confused the black and white so that we could not find the monk. It's really possible, the monk Liangxu said immediately. Third elder, when I first saw Meng Beishi, I felt that he had a big head and he had a lot of thoughts. Humph, Captain Yi snorted coldly and said, this aura of the divine transformation stage is a bit unusual. Let's follow him and have a look. If he is really the person we are looking for, our Balian sect might use this opportunity to with the opportunity and the secret realm of ascending immortal, you can stand at the top of the spiritual world. After saying that, the company commander flashed and followed Mujiajia from a distance.